Okay, everyone. So today we're going to share with you um, our journey in the real estate industry and how we went from being real estate agents to being real estate investors, and from running a six-figure business to now running a multi-million dollar business, seven-figure business a year. We're going to show you the structures, the systems, the lead flow, and everything that we have in the back end of our business. We're going to share with you what are some of the key points to be successful in running a seven-figure business, and what are some of the things that are essential to building a business like this. Alberi is going to go over with you today the structures, the different systems that we use, and how we implemented that over the past few years to be able to take our business to the level we are today.
Correct. Yeah. Hopefully this can give you guys an idea of, where we were and the things that we had to do to be able to get to where we are. Hopefully you guys can learn from there and you can add some value into your business.
So if you are a real estate investor and you're struggling, to getting your business to make seven figures, if you're having trouble with finding leads, managing your time, hiring people, if you want to know what are some of the things that you should do to be able to take your business to the next level, it is important that you stay and watch this video, because we're going to share very specific information on what are some of the steps you should be making if you want to get to the next level. Whether you are making $100,000 a year or you're making $500,000 a year, we're going to show you how we've been able to scale this and buy 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 homes every single month, with technically none of our money, using other people's money, and constantly flip and manage all the aspects of the business. Okay?
Yeah, and if there's anything that you guys would like for us to talk about in the future, feel free to let us know in the comment. We'll welcome the feedback. So, Sandy, what do you think, if to get started, we talk a little bit about how we got started in the business,
Sure.
and how that was for us. So why don't you get started, because you got in the business first.
Yeah, so we started in real estate in 2000. I started in real estate in 2014, the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. I started as a real estate agent selling properties for other people. Very important to know that if you're a licensed realtor, I think you have a unique advantage over other people, because you get to understand the market more than anybody else, and you get insight in all the deals that are going on. You have access to the MLS, obviously. It's not where we find our deals, but it is a very unique tool that we use to find other aspects of the business and get a lot more information. So to me, being a real estate agent in real estate investments, flipping and wholesaling, I think it's extremely beneficial over the competition. So we started as a real estate agents, technically, looking for deals for investors and other people, and eventually transitioning into wholesaling and buying our own deals.
So to summarize that, Sandy started as a one-man show, just as a regular agent. I think 6 months or 8 months after that, I started and I got my license, and we were pretty much just working as regular real estate agents. Then from there on, I think I would say like a year after that, or 2 years after that. And that was 2 years.
2 years.
2 years after that, because it was after I got out of college. He had just gotten started doing investments, and that's where we kind of made the transition of going from being just regular real estate agents to now focusing on doing more regular real estate investment. So I think it was my right after I graduated college, and we actually partnered up kind of officially and started working together to be able to generate more business. So how that was for us, since it was just the two of us, it was a bit challenging, because we didn't have the support and all other things that we have going on right now. But we will put in all the work. Now that was the foundation to be able to get started and build what we have now. So from there, just being the two of us. Then Liani, our transaction coordinator, came in, which is my current fiance, and then she added value by pretty much working everything that's the file, and we're gonna work. We're gonna talk a little more in depth about that, but that was pretty much the starting point for us to where we started growing, and we went from just being just Sandy working by himself to then having me bringing more business, and then us partnering up, and then bringing Liani in to work the files.
Absolutely. So I'm assuming that a lot of people that's watching this video, they are in real estate right now, and they might be working by themselves. And one of the most common questions that comes up is, what should I do first, right? And in my opinion, one of the things that you should do, one of the first things you should do once you make $100,000 or more, is do your first hire. You should hire somebody, an assistant or a transaction coordinator, somebody who's going to do a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the handle the files, a lot of the non-money making activities.
Yeah. I think a great question that you should ask yourself, and this is something that you always used to say, is just look. If you're a one-man show, you're doing everything by yourself. Just look at what you're currently doing, right? Look at your day-to-day, and ask yourself, what am I doing that is not a money-making activity, right?
Correct.
And then that is whatever takes the most of your time, then that's probably where you would want to focus on hiring someone else. Because let's say, I'll give you an example, like it was in our case, Sandy was spending a lot of time handling paperwork on top of prospecting, right? So the first hire went into him hiring Liani, who now took care of all the processes of all the transaction. So now, if that took him, let's say 3-4 hours, that's 4 hours that now he had for prospecting. When he brought me in, I was pretty much just lead generating. I didn't do any other paperwork. So, he was prospecting, I was prospecting, but he was still putting time into paperwork, which now by hiring that person, it's time that he can have to prospect. So ask yourself that question, and that can help you determine, okay, maybe I need someone that's going to handle following up with clients. Maybe I have someone that's going to handle the transactions. And then based on that, you should be able to come up with the answer and see where your first hire should be.
Absolutely. So maybe we could go over the chart, Alberi, kind of explain people how our systems work from, looking for the business to once the business comes in, and how everything is run.
Sure, can definitely go into that. Now, before I go into the chart, something that I would like to talk a little bit more about, especially since we're just talking about hire, and especially since we're going to go into the chart, is that now you guys will see, as I'm going to pretty much each department, you guys will see that we have other people handling each department. And the reason why I want to go over this, which is proper hiring or onboarding, is because that's going to take a big role, and it's going to have a big effect when you start hiring people. And pretty much what I want to say is that whenever you hire someone, right, especially if you're going to hire your first person, make sure that you guys have a proper onboarding process. Now, this is continuously going to be changing as you're growing, but it is important that you know how you're going to bring that person in, and you have the proper training systems and structure, because that's what's going to determine how fast you're able to train that person to do your job. And then it's also going to determine how fast your company eventually is going to grow, or your team is going to grow. So how can you go about that? It's just simple. Just ask yourself, okay, if I'm going to hire someone, what is that person going to be doing that I'm doing right now, right? And then let's use the same example that we put earlier. Let's say you're hiring someone to do everything within your transaction. Just ask yourself, or make a list. Well, what am I currently doing that I'm going to want that person to do? If you write a list of everything that you're doing, then you already have kind of like a roadmap of what exactly they're going to be doing. And then what you can do is just maybe do trainings. You can do this by creating forms or maybe videos that you can provide to this person, so when they come in, they have some sort of guidance on top of you coaching them. Why is this important? Because you don't want to hire someone and have to be holding their hands throughout the entire process. You want to hire someone that's going to come in and start adding value to you as soon as possible. So the more prepared you are, the better it's going to be. So this is just a side note so you guys can keep in mind, because when it comes to hiring, it's going to be crucial, especially to start implementing a lot of this stuff. And for us, it's something that we, it took us some time to learn, and we already actually had some people on board when we started to realize, hey, if we would have had a proper onboarding from the beginning, it would have been much easier for us. So these are some of the mistakes that we made, that we learned along the way, that if you starting by yourself and can start taking on early on, it can add great value to you and your team. Okay. So what I'll do, so you guys can get a rough idea of how our systems run right now, is I'm going to go over pretty much this chart right here that you guys see on the screen, and I'm going to go over each one of the different departments and then kind of how everything flows, right? So because we are, like we mentioned earlier, mainly focused on doing investment, and don't get us wrong, we also do regular real estate. Everything for our business starts from the incoming leads, right? So the way that we currently prospect for our investment, we're very heavy on foreclosed properties. So right now we have what we call an office assistant. Her job is pretty much lead handling all of our leads, right? Now there's two ways that we collect leads. We make calls where we call and try to get in touch with people. And then we have leads that are inbound. We're very heavy on outbound lead generating, but we're trying to transition to inbound. So pretty much what our office assistant does is she takes our data, she pretty much cleans them, make sure she gets the contact information of of the people that we're going to call, and then she puts it in a system for our acquisition department to call. Part of her job is also other than cleaning out the data and putting it in the system and preparing it for acquisition to call, she also has to put it within a few Excels that we have, automated Excels that we have created, where once the data goes in there, these leads get automated text message. So that's pretty much part of her job.
And a mailer. A mailer goes out and they get automatic mailers too. So we touch base with those people through mailings and through text messages. We letting them know, who we are, that their property has been scheduled or a foreclosure has been filed on their property. Foreclosures are right now our number one lead generating systems that we have. So we're heavy on that. And as soon as we get that list, right, on a daily basis, those people get notified via text messages and via mailers that their property has been scheduled for a foreclosure.
Correct. And that's all part pretty much of what the office assistant does. She does the mailing on top of cleaning the numbers and organizing the leads. Again, I'm just giving you guys the overview. If you guys want us to go more in depth on the different departments and what exactly they do, we can definitely do another video on that, but this is just the basic idea. So once the office assistant takes care of the lead, she puts it into one of the systems that we use. Right now we use batch dialer. We use that as our automated dialer to call a large amount of numbers. So pretty much she puts that in there for our acquisition to be able to call, and then go ahead.
Let me just slow down a little bit. So text messages goes out, a mailing campaign goes out, it goes into a system where we now, on the same day probably, or the next day, we're now calling those people.
Correct.
As everything's going out, because there's 80-75% of the people that we're not making contact with on the phone, so we want to make sure that they get a touch from us either via text message or through a mailing campaign.
Correct. And yeah, so once it's on the auto dialer, from there the acquisition team goes in and they're able to see what leads have been imported, and then their job is to make sure we constantly get in touch with these people until we get in touch with someone. From there, we go, if we're able to make contact with a lead on batch dialer. Then we
Now we send the text message, we send the mailing campaign, we try calling them. Now, a lot of the people that we couldn't make contact on the phone, they also go into a pile that we have somebody that goes and door knocks on that door. Okay, so we also go door knocking. That's a huge way of generating leads.
That's part of what we do right here.
Down there.
We door knock and we door tag. The
Right.
difference between those two is one, you're actually knocking and speaking with the homeowner. With the other one, we just leave a note for them to try to get in touch with us.
Correct. Now those people that we are successful at making contacts, then they go from batch dialer into our database, okay? And they go into a database where we are constantly following up, and we're also sending them text messages on a regular basis, and in some instance, some type of mailing campaigns to them too, right? Because we're talking to a lot of people that are not ready to sell now, but we want to stay in touch and make sure that we're following up with them in the future to be able to stay, you know, if they change their mind and they want to sell. So then they go into our database.
Correct. So yeah, so at the same time, these leads are getting, like Sandy said, they're getting messages from us, they're getting mailers, and they're hearing from us by us going to the property, and while we're calling. Once,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, once we make contact with that person over the auto dialer, then that's when we actually transfer that lead to our actual CRM. So if we make contact with them from the auto dialer, if they were able to get in touch with them because they replied to our text message, or if they opened the door when we went door knocking, that's when we actually transfer the lead to our database, which currently we use Podio for our database. To talk a little bit about Podio, one of the main reasons why we personally like it is because of how customizable it is, where, you know, anything that you need, you can build it yourself within the Podio. And that's something that, again, if you guys would like to know a little bit more about, we can do a video just going over our CRM and how we have it structured.
Keep in mind that one of the most important things in real estate or any business is the follow-up system. 99% of the business will come in through follow-up with clients. So the follow-up system is extremely important, especially when you're talking to, you know, over 100 people a day. You can really easily lose track, and deals can fall through. So I handle the acquisition department along with some help from some of our guys here. And every single day we come in, we have an average of 60 to 100 people that we have to call and follow up
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. These are people that, you know, they're going through some issues, death in the family. It could be, you know, for sale by owners, expired listings. It's a combination of stuff. We're only showing you a very brief description of what we do here. But the follow-up is extremely important, and we have systems where, you know, we have notes every time we talk to somebody, whether it's me or somebody else. So when we're going back to that contact, I might talk to somebody today and they might ask me to follow up with them in 3 or 4 weeks. So we got to make sure that we keep proper notes on, you know, the conversations, and we record all the conversations when we talk to people to make sure that we can get back to that and follow up with those people.
So I'm just gonna share here a little bit of the CRM that we use, just so you guys can get a rough idea. But this is our CRM, and then this is what I was referring to when everything can be customizable. So here we have fields for everything that we're doing, and every department pretty much lives within one app. Now, because this is, as you guys can see, there's a lot here. I'm not gonna go into details, but I just wanted to show you guys a little bit on how it works. This is our acquisition app, and pretty much everything within there, it's just for acquisitions. All of our sellers are there. We have our transaction coordinator app right here. We have our Dispo app right here together with this. So there's a lot that goes on. So if you guys are looking for a CRM, I really suggest you guys look into Podio, because it might be helpful.
Okay.
So let me just close this. Let me see if I can get back to the screen.
I think it's
There we go. Okay, so now we're back on the screen. So yeah.
So let's move into the next step after every they go into the database.
So once they're in the database, once they're in Podio, that means two things. That means that we either make contact with them and we're already working with them, or it just means that it's someone that we make contact that we're constantly going to be following up. So within Podio, within our sellers app, we have a section where our follow-up agent comes in every day and he follow-ups with all of these clients. Ideally, if you own a house and we have your number, we're going to keep calling. And then if you're calling and you're not interested in selling now, we'll follow up with you in the future, at least 6 months or a year from now. Outside from that, we add all of our clients into an SMS follow-up campaign where they also hear from us within 6 months or a year. Why? Just like Sandy was saying, follow-up is really important. And today you might speak to someone that might not be interested in selling, but things happen and things change, and within time that might change, and we want to make sure that they know that we're here to help them one way or the other one.
Now, what happens once we get that contract signed with that seller, right? Then at that point, depending on what the strategy is with the property, few things can happen. Either number one, we're gonna buy the property. Number two, we're gonna wholesale the property. Number three, we're just gonna act as agents and represent the seller on the sale of the property. There's multiple exit strategies because we're very diverse within real estate. So at that point, let's assume that it's a wholesale deal. So the property comes in, we get the contract signed. At that point, we send that property information over to the disposition department, okay, which is handled by Joel in our team. Joel is responsible for marketing that property to our section in our database, to cash buyers and realtors, right? The real estate agents who have cash buyers, who have people that are looking to buy properties like this. We have a huge database with a lot of cash buyers and investors, and a lot of times we don't have to necessarily have the property locked up, right? We come across a lot of situations where the sellers are ready to go and they just want us to bring them a buyer. We might not be interested in the properties, but we have a huge network of people, so we market that property to certain buyers, and if we bring the buyers at that point, then we wholesale the deal in the middle. Depending, a lot of times we end up buying the properties and then reselling it. We renovate the properties before we put it on the market. We send it over to our network of realtors. There's multiple exit strategies within the course of the transaction. It really depends where we're taking it to.
And also the opportunities that you have, right? The question is, how can you maximize your time and whatever you're doing? And right now you might be in the wholesaling game, but throughout that you also might prospect and talk to agents or let's say buyers. So like in our case, right, something that we do is, if we might find someone that is interested in selling their property, and it might not be a deal for us because they don't want it. What they're asking is too much. And then maybe we tried the listing approach, but they don't want to do that because they don't want to pay a commission. So then what we do is, well, they don't want to sell, or we don't want to buy it because it doesn't make sense, and they don't want to list. If we find them a buyer, can we make a commission from there? Right? And we try to leverage from every aspect. And sometimes, we can find someone that's looking for a certain price, but they want to put it on the market. We might be able to connect them with a buyer that wants to get them, and they're willing to pay the buyer's commission, and we can split that. So there's different ways that you guys can structure the deals.
Yeah, listen, the potential is endless, right? As long as you're building relationships and you're talking to people in the business, your ways of making money could be in multiple different ways. One big way of us making money too is building relationships with these investors that we sell the properties to, and eventually getting those listings back and making a commission when we resell the properties as agents. So a lot of times, we don't make money on the front end. I might find a property that is doable. We can sell it to an investor that maybe doesn't work for us. The investor buys it and he ends up giving us the listing back. So we also go to the sheriff sales, and we buy properties at the sheriff sales where we're competing with other investors there. But we, again, as realtors, as agents, you have the ability that you can have insight on a lot of these deals, and the more diverse you are, the more the more exit strategies you can have and capitalize on the deals and make money when other people can make money on the deals. Okay.
Yeah. So to summarize, just go over the different other departments. So once we get the leads on podium, we'll follow up, and then if we are able to make contact, then we pass the lead to our transaction coordinator, and then from there they start working on the file. Once it goes into our transaction coordinator, they take over that file pretty much all the way until closing. Together with the transaction coordinator comes in the dispo, because if it's let's say a listing, or let's say it's a property that we're buying and we need to find a buyer, like Sandy said, we have someone designated on our dispo department, which his job is finding a buyer for all of our properties, right? And he does that through different ways. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, one of the things, why it's important for you to understand why having a structure like this is important, especially if you're trying to, get your business to make over $1 million a year, right? Is that we each concentrate on a very specific department. Like I'm concentrated on an acquisition. Acquisition is where the deals come through, right? So my job as the acquisition manager on the team, let's say, is to solely concentrate on getting business, whether that is making calls, door knocking, converting all the inbound calls that are coming in. And then once the business comes in, I don't really want to hear about anything else that's going on. A lot of people, the people that are in real estate, know how hard you have to work to close the deal, right? All the legwork that needs to happen behind closing the deal, especially the good ones, that you have to do a bunch of work. You have to work with the client. You have to negotiate, resolve title liens, work with attorneys, work on relocating people, all of that. If I'm able to remove myself from all of that, and I'm able to concentrate on what I'm good at, which is talking to the sellers and getting those contracts signed, and then I'll leave it up to Alberi, I'll leave it up to Joel, I'll leave it up to Liani, the people behind me, to close those deals and make those deals happen. I can go back to my seat and make crazy money. So this is where the time, is used efficiently. And Alberi is on the management end, making sure that everything is working smoothly, that all these systems are running perfectly, so our lead flow doesn't stop. In my case, I can't be bothered with what Alberi's doing, because that's what he's good at. And if we can keep all these departments running, the business is coming in, the leads are coming in, and the contracts are getting signed, it turns into,
everything works smooth.
Yeah, everything works smooth.
Everyone is good at their area and what they're doing.
So this is why it's important for you to understand that it is extremely difficult, in my opinion, to make $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million as a one-person show, even as a 2, 3, 4 people. You need multiple departments to be able to manage and get this to the next level. This is why it's important to understand all these systems and how to manage all these departments.
Other than the ones that we mentioned, 2 that are not here, we have what we call the field operator, which is someone that's just responsible for doing everything that has to do with going outside. If we have to drop off documents to an attorney, if we have to pick up documents from a client, if we have to be present for an appointment, if we have to be present for an inspection, if you have to be present for an appraisal, this person gets paid to be there, because an hour or 2 that we sit at a property, waiting for someone to come, let's say, to do an appraisal or an inspection, that's time that we can be putting into something more valuable. Recently, we just hired a virtual assistant for Sandy that her job is mainly to answer Sandy's phone call. Because we realized that other than prospecting, Sandy was answering about 50 to 60 calls from people that were calling, sometimes agents asking questions about property that we had listed, that we realized, well, if we can have someone that can answer those calls and answer those questions in behalf of Sandy, then Sandy can put time into prospecting and generating more business, because that's what he's good at, right? So it's not just a matter of hiring people, but also finding people that are going to be good in those areas that you need them to be.
Depending on what's, well, not that, actually, I would recommend you, strongly recommend you this book, which I know you read it, I read it, and I think Sebastian is reading it right now. It's Buy Back Your Time. That's what it's called, right? Buy Back Your Time. By Dan, what is the name of the guy? Dan Martell. Super rich in information on how to buy your time back and leverage your time. It is extremely important that especially if you're in the growing stage, you know where you're putting your time, because that's what's going to determine where if you're going to get to the next level. And you know, he goes over the strategies on some of the things that you shouldn't be doing, right? Let's say you're making, let's call it $200,000 a month or a year right now, right? And you want to get to $1 million. Should you be picking up laundry? Should you be, you know, taking out, you know, like cleaning your house? Like, why are you spending time on activities that are, you know, you can hire somebody for $15 an hour when you're out, 1 hour of your time is worth $100? You can outsource that and pay somebody $15, $20 an hour, and you go make $100. Let somebody, you know, pay somebody $20 and get that task done. So that's how you leverage your time and you buy your time back, right? So it's extremely important that you understand, you know, the importance of hiring on the, you know, who you should hire, at what course of your career you should hire them,
and how valuable your time is. Because correct. Again, if you can be, like he said, if you can hire someone else to do what you're doing, you know, you could be generating way more money. So that was a good point to touch on. So to summarize, you know, so like I mentioned, we have the Dispo, which handles pretty much all of the buyers and finding offers for all of our property. Other than that, everything else is just our structures and system. Something that we use right now to streamline our work is Zapier. There's a lot of things that you can do within Zapier, within automations, things like that. A lot of our SMS run through Zapier. Right now we use ClickSend for our SMS. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of like an overview of our system and structure. This is just the surface level. Like we said, all of these departments go way more in details. And we're always in a growing phase, right? Whether we're improving our system, improving our structures, our trainings. And yeah, if you guys, you know, have any question, feel free to let us know in the comments. If you guys want us to go over any of these topics, let us know. And if you'll be interested in joining our coaching program and would like to learn firsthand, you know, come in the office, see exactly how we run the team and the things that we do, let us know in regards to that as well. Absolutely.
We're always here to help you guys. Obviously, you know, you can you know, get to the next. It is possible to get to the next level. I hope this information was valuable to you. Eventually, you know, we will be opening up, you know, more in details, and you know, once you become part of our mentorship, we can show you guys to a more specific level what we do, you know, and kind of give you the blueprint on, you know, how that this is possible, this is doable. If we did it, anybody can do it, okay?
That's right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
Appreciate you. Stay in tune. Send us a DM. Stay in touch with us. Anything that we can do for you, okay? Bye-bye.